The story begins with a girl who's forced to move to a new place due to her father's new job. Her name is Yui Komori. As she arrives, she sees a mysterious mansion, and when she knocks on the door, it suddenly opens, which surprises her. As she steps into the dimly lit hall, she sees a boy sleeping on the couch. When she goes to him, she finds that his heart has stopped beating. Panicked, she tries to call the ambulance for help, but he snatches her phone and pulls her, and then pushes her down onto the couch. He tells her that she is too noisy and licks her neck before going for a bite, but another boy comes there and stops him. He asks her what she is doing in this mansion. She tries to reply that her father has sent her to live here. Suddenly, another boy comes there and unexpectedly licks her cheek. Then another boy appears who also licks her too, just like she is an ice cream. Yui gets irritated by this, but she is helpless. Suddenly, another white-haired boy comes there, who angrily punches on the wall. Seeing this, Yui gets confused, but another sleepy boy explains that the church has sent her to live with them. She has been chosen as the next sacrificial bride, so they introduce themselves. Reiji, Shuu, Ayato, Laito, Kanato, and Subaru, the 6 vampire brothers. Horrified by what she's hearing, Yui tries to call her father, but Subaru crushes her phone with his bare hand. Seeing this, Yui tries to run away, but trips and hurts herself. Seeing her blood, the fangs of all the brothers come out, her scent has awakened their thirst. Yui understands that all the brothers are actually vampires. Understanding her situation, she tries to stop them by rosary, but they laugh and ask she seriously believes a fairy tale written by mortals. Hearing this, she gets scared and runs out of an empty room. There she finds an old photo of herself as a child with her father and his diary. After reading the diary, she comes to know that she was adopted. Suddenly, all the vampire brothers come there and surround her. Their eyes glow red with hunger and forcefully try to suck her blood. This overwhelming fear causes Yui to faint. The next day when she wakes up, she finds herself in a room. She immediately checks her neck for bite marks and is relieved to find out that she wasn't bitten. Just then, Laito comes there and tries to show his riz, but Ayato also comes there and starts fighting with him over who gets to taste her blood first. Meanwhile, Reiji arrives there and scolds them both, then turns to Yui and calmly tells her to get ready for her new school. As they leave, she thinks that it is a chance to go back to the abandoned room to check on her father's diary. However, when she opens the door, she finds Ayato, who tells her if she needs help with changing. In response, Yui angrily slams the door and shouting, "No thanks." At night, they all go to school in a big black car. Yui notices they sit in complete silence and not talk to each other at all. Reiji then hands her cranberry juice and tells her to drink it. It will help prevent anemia so that her blood stays tasty for longer and those people can enjoy her blood for a long time. At school, Yui finds out she is in Ayato and Kanato's class where Ayato forces her to make takoyaki for him. After eating, Ayato corners her and tells her that he has been holding his thirst since yesterday and he cannot hold back any longer, and without warning forcefully sinks his fangs into her neck and begins sucking her blood. He finds Yui's blood quite delicious. Yui tries to stop him, but he admits that he falls in love with her and again starts sucking more and more blood. Just as she's about to faint, he then throws her into the water. Yui doesn't know how to swim, and she starts drowning. Seeing her drowning, it reminds Ayato of his childhood, where he too was drowning in water, so he also goes into the water to save Yui and kisses her. He tells her she belongs to only him. After rescuing Yui, he leaves from there without any word. That night, Yui again sneaks into the same empty room to reread her father's diary, hoping to find answers. However, when she opens it, she finds it completely blank. Yui is perplexed that everything that was written there just vanished, as if no one had even written in it. Frustrated and heartbroken, she returns to her room and prepares to sleep. Out of nowhere, she hears a voice, who's asking her what she's doing. She turns around and finds Ayato is sitting on a chair in her room. She tries to ignore him, but he grabs her wrist and tries to force himself on her. She claims she needs to go bathe, hoping to escape, but Ayato doesn't let her go and forcefully starts sucking her blood from her chest. Because of this, Hickey's kiss marks are formed on the chest of Yui. After that, Yui goes to take a bath, only to find Shuu already in the bathtub. He starts sleeping inside, so she tries to help him out by holding his hand, but this triggers a childhood memory of Shuu, where we see that a village burning down from his past, and a boy giving a hand to Shuu. But Yui's voice brings him back as she says that he's hurting her. He then pulls Yui inside the bathtub. He comes close to her and orders her to let him suck her blood. Yui tries to stop him, but he doesn't listen, and he gleefully drinks her blood. He was also captivated by the unique flavor of her blood. She is getting excited. Shuu teasingly calls her a dirty girl because her temperature is rising because of fangs in her throat. After that, Yui goes back to her bedroom, where Ayato is waiting for her on her bed, once again intending to suck her blood. She firmly tells him it's not a good time, but Ayato lunges forward anyway, determined to drink her blood. However, he freezes the moment when he notices the bite mark on her neck, proof that Shuu has already fed on her. Infuriated, Ayato goes to fight him and challenges Shuu to a game of darts, declaring that the winner will claim Yui as their prize. Suddenly, Laito also comes there, and he wants to see who will win the little bitch. At first, Shuu shows no interest, but when Reiji arrives and mocks him for being indifferent, Shuu, irritated by the insult, accepts the challenge. With little effort, Shuu easily defeats Ayato, but he starts to leave without taking his prize. Just then, Laito pushes her into Shuu and she crashes into him, but he shows no interest in her. He tells her flatly that mortals are nothing more than food, and she should have realized that by now. With a final detached warning, "Don't even dream of touching my heart," clearly showing that he has been hurt by some humans in the past. The next day at school, Yui sees a telephone and rushes toward it, desperate to call for help, but before she can, suddenly Kanato appears. Seeing Kanato, she gets scared and asks why he's still at school. Kanato answers that he is here because he and his teddy are thirsty, so Yui tries to please him by bringing coffee. However, Kanato angrily throws away the coffee and scolds Yui that he hates bitter things. A few moments later, he calms down and asks Yui if the coffee splashed on her finger and slowly licks her fingers. Kanato then asks her if she hates him or she wants to learn more about him, but he changes his mind and leaves from there, but to punish her, he puts her bag on the terrace. So she went on the rooftop to grab her bag. There she hears Laito's voice, who is standing there. Laito looking at the sky and talking to himself about a woman that he still loves her and can't forget, but he quickly senses someone's presence and immediately goes near her and says that we vampires become more thirsty on nights like this, and they become so terribly thirsty. They are driven mad and need to quench that thirst. He then licks her neck and starts sucking her blood. She stops him by pushing back and runs away to a nearby phone booth. Yui quickly dials her father's number for help, but to her horror, it's Laito who picks up the phone on the other end. Panicked Yui runs from there, but Laito easily catches her. She struggles to free herself. At the moment, he hears his father's name on the television news. Who is the foreign minister of that country? Yui also recognizes him, and she whispers, "Karl Heinz." Then she faints. This surprises Laito. He questions, "Just who are you?" The next day, Yui finds the door of the mansion is open. Without wasting time, she runs away and comes to a nearby church. There, she desperately prays to God for help, but instead of peace, Laito also comes there. He laughs cruelly for seeking help from God and tells her to not waste her time because God is just nonsense created by humans. There is no God. He then comes closer to her and starts forcing himself on her. But Yui pushes him back and says she still believes in God, whatever vampires think of God. Laito again comes closer to Yui and tells her he is here to expose her and forcefully pushes her down onto a table adorned with flowers. As she struggles, he slowly begins taking off her clothes, then gently bites her thigh and starts drinking blood. As she lies there in anguish, he whispers the truth. "The church you trusted so much, they're the ones who offered you to us." As a sacrifice to those vampire brothers, despair fills Yui's eyes. After listening to Laito words, the church on which she was hoping for help has actually betrayed her. Laito then continues his torture and invites her to follow him down to hell. The next day, Yui is cutting roses in the garden. Her mind is still haunted by what Laito revealed in the church about her being offered as a sacrifice for them by the church that she had faith in. Suddenly, Kanato appears there and orders her to gather the flowers and follow him. Yui hesitates a bit, but Kanato coldly says that he doesn't like to be kept waiting. After that, he takes Yui to a graveyard. Yui asks why they are here, to which he replies that graveyards are so dark and full of the smell of death. He then points out that the grave in front of them is his mother's grave. Kanato tells her he likes graves because they're cold and quiet, indifferent to pain. He also asks his teddy if he agrees. Kanato then asks her to lay flowers on the grave. As she does so and turns to leave, Kanato's mood shifts. He then starts hitting the bouquet of roses on the grave in a fit of rage, yelling at her for trying to escape. Seeing this psychodrama, Yui backs up, but trips, to which Kanato laughs cruelly, telling her, "Lousy mortal, you look so pathetic now," and tells her to crawl around in the dirt some more and cry like the pathetic girl she is. "Maybe then I'll possibly forgive you." Tears in her eyes, Yui apologizes and Kanato calls her sweet girl. He then goes on top of Yui and kisses her and gleefully starts sucking her blood. She tries to tell him to stop, but he just says that he won't let her go anywhere. After some time, she's stumbling back to the mansion, weak and disoriented. A mysterious man is seen standing out the residence, apparently watching her. Subaru then asks what he is doing here, and he asks, won't he call him uncle? But Subaru tells him to shut up and get lost. A strong wind then blows, and he disappears, saying that the awakening will manifest without awaiting its time. Subaru then turns to look at Yui and repeats what he just said. After going inside, Yui hears some noises from the next room. She sees Reiji asleep inside the room, but seemingly having a nightmare. She then touches his shoulder, which wakes him. He can't believe that he woke up to the scent of her blood. She then asks if she can help him about his nightmare. So he calmly prepares himself a cup of tea. Looking out the window, something reminds him of an old memory. Without explanation, he pours a cup for Yui as well. But something is mixed in that tea. As soon as she drinks it, the cup slips from her hand and falls. So Reiji immediately offers her a strange medicine. Upon drinking it, she collapses. Her hand begins to bleed. At the sight of her blood, Reiji's cold mask slips. His thirst surges. Driven by instinct, he slams her against the wall and sinks his fangs into her, drinking with terrifying pleasure. Yui somehow stops him, but he angrily scolds her. "Stop resisting! You are nothing more than containers of blood, and that despite her position as a worthless container." He overpowers her and starts sucking her blood with pleasure. Then, we see a flashback which shows Reiji in a field, and his mother telling him that she finally witnessed his full abilities, and that she was hoping it would be him that killed her, and that she is satisfied shows her dying. He then asks why she died smiling, because he wanted her to die suffering, not having any peace. He then tells Yui that he will not allow her to die without suffering. The next day, Yui steps out onto the mansion's balcony after hearing someone singing a sweet song she carried by the wind. There she finds Kanato was singing a song, sitting on the railing. Yui gets worried about him, so she asks him to get down immediately, but demands a kiss in return. Yui hesitates, unsure how to respond. Kanato, amused by her reaction, suddenly leans backward and intentionally falls from the balcony. Panicked, Yui runs downstairs only to find him lying on the ground, completely unharmed. She asks him to wake up, but he orders her not to disturb his sleep. He asks her to go with him to a place, so they both come to a deserted room, where was mannequins of girls in wedding dresses standing everywhere. Kanato then asks her if she too would like to become like those soulless mannequins. Hearing this, Yui starts running away from there in fear, but Kanato forces her to the wall and starts drinking her blood. He then tells her that all those lifeless mannequins were once sacrificial brides just like her. Saying this, he starts strangling Yui. Luckily, Ayato comes there to save Yui, seeing which Kanato leaves from there. She is somehow going back to her room. On the way, she meets Subaru, who asks her to run away from there and save her life. Without a second, Yui goes to her room to pack bag, but when she sees her childhood photo with her father, she decides to stay in the mansion to find out the truth. Seeing her coming back empty-handed, Subaru understands her decision and gives her a silver knife for self-protection. Any vampire can be killed with this silver knife with one just stab to the heart. She takes the knife and goes back to the room, where Laito is already waiting for her. Although Yui has a silver knife, but he shows no fear. He, approaching her slowly, leans close, prepared to suck Yui's blood. But when she says that she will always trust God to help her, hearing this, Laito has second thoughts, and he does not suck her blood. One night, Yui peeps out of her room's window and sees a woman with purple hair outside. Seeing her, she immediately faints on the floor. After this, she starts sleepwalking and somehow goes into the world of childhood memories of those vampire brothers there. She again sees the purple-haired woman who happens to be the mother of Ayato, Kanato, and Laito. She lets Laito and Kanato to play, but cruelly forces Ayato to study, or else she will reject him. Then the vision shifts to another place. There Yui sees Reiji as a boy, who quietly reading a book beside his mother, Beatrix, who's sewing. Yui wonders if that is Reiji. She then notices a young Shuu holding a puppy. Beatrix gets up and asks Shuu what he's doing there. She tells Shuu that he is the eldest son and therefore the next head of the family, and that he needs to learn how to conduct himself at all times, and orders to her butler to take care of it. Poor Shuu lets go the puppy. He runs away. Reiji looks on and tells her that he finished memorizing the entire book, but she just ignores him and goes back to sewing. Then the scene again changes. We sees she is on a bridge near a tower lined with white roses. She starts walking again and notices a young Subaru looking up at the tower and sees a woman in the window, and she just turns away. Subaru puts his head down and drops the knife. Yui then sees Cordelia talking with Richter. He tells her that she is the most beautiful and elegant being alive, and that all things exist to love her, and kisses her hand. And she tells him that she would like him to always stay by her side, just to whisper your sweet nothings. Ayato also looking at them with angry look in his face. Then Cordelia turns to look at Yui, and there is pain starts in her heart, and she collapsed. When she wakes up from her dream, and she finds Ayato is already there to suck her blood, then Laito also comes there, and both brothers feast on the poor human bride's blood. The next day, Yui goes to Laito and asks about the lady with purple hair. Hearing this, there is silence in the room. Suddenly, Ayato and Kanato also come there, and then Ayato tells she was Cordelia, his mother. Then we see a flashback, a red moon outside, and Cordelia is screaming. She is standing on the stairs of the main hall, apparently wounded. She backs up a bit, and we see parts of Ayato's clothes soaked in blood. He then says that they are soaked in her blood, and then licks his hand. Ayato says that her blood is so delicious and he wants more. Cordelia gets scared and runs away from there and begs for Laito to save her. She says that Ayato is torturing her. He seems somewhat surprised, but says he knew this would happen sooner or later. So Laito tells her to hide near the window of the same empty room. When he comes back, he asks if she loves him more than anyone else, and she says yes, she loves him and she means it. Then she gives her bloody hand to him, but Laito coldly pushes her through the window. She falls down in the bush of the bed of roses, her condition becoming like death. He looks over and says, "Now, mother, you only belongs to me for eternity." Then Kanato comes there with a candelabrum, walks over to her body and asks her, "What's wrong, mother? Why there is a whole urine chest?" He then tells her that he'll warm her up and set a fire at his mother's dead body and ask her if it is getting warmer, and he still watches and laughing like a crazy weirdo. After hearing that, Yui runs through the garden and she trips. She is visibly shaken and says that she hates this place and she can't stand it anymore. At that moment, Subaru appears there. He coldly tells her, "You should have run when you had the chance." Yui looks up at him. Through her confusion and fear, she asks if he knew what the triplets did to their own mother. He asks if he did and starts walking away. She then asks why he gave her that knife and tries to grab his arm, but he tells her not to touch him and that if she comes one step closer, he'll destroy her. He'll not only break her body, but her mind as well, and punch some of the nearby white roses. Seeing the roses, Yui then asks if the woman locked in the tower was his mother. He angrily asks what she knows and grabs her hand tightly and asks what she expects from someone as powerless, hideous, and polluted as he is. Yui is confused, but before she can respond, Subaru pulls her closer. almost as if he's hugging her. She questioningly says his name, but Subaru lowers down to her neck, pulls some of her hair away, and bites her. He stops for a moment and says, "Her blood is so sweet," before biting her again. She tries to stop, but he tells her to shut up and be quiet before pulling the left side of her shirt away, sniffing her skin, then bites her left arm. He stops again and says that she asked him why he gave her that silver knife, because he wanted her to stab him with it. She again tries to stop him, but he says that she has no right to refuse, just as in the same way that she can't deny him her blood, and then she faints. After that, we see Yui in her bed. She feels something come on the bed. She turns to find Ayato, but he tells her not to look at him and puts his arm around her and tells her not to disobey him, and then he falls asleep. Elsewhere in the same dark night, the vampire's uncle, Richter, looking over the lake and telling Cordelia that they will meet again soon, and tells she must wake up soon. Then we see Yui waking up and having chest pains and wondering what's wrong with her. Later on, Yui comes to an abandoned church where she finds Shuu reading a book. She tells him that she hears a woman's voice these days and she can't even sleep properly. Hearing her words, Shuu comes to Yui and knocks her down and bites her neck and gleefully sucks her blood. Shuu finds Yui's blood a bit changed. He tells Yui that the awakening is going to happen to her soon, and then again starts drinking her blood, enjoying himself until Yui asks him about awakening. So he tells her that no sacrificial bride has survived to the point of awakening. When she hears sacrificial bride, she remembers what the brothers had said when she first arrived. She then asks him the real reason why she's here, and if her father has a strong connection to the Sakamakis. But Shuu gets up and says that he'll answer her questions. Suddenly, a man walks into the church. Yui asks who he is, so Shuu introduces him as Richter, their uncle. Yui then remembers seeing him when she was in the past, talking to Cordelia. After that, Shuu picks up his music book and leaves. Without wasting any time, Yui directly asks him why she was chosen, as well as why her father was involved with sacrificial brides. So Richter explains to her that she came to this house because she's of suitable bridal age, and because she was the easiest mortal to obtain. There is nothing special about it, bitch. Hearing those, Yui thanked God that her father had nothing to do with it, but suddenly a sharp pain pierces her chest. Seeing her agony, Richter smiles and raises his hand toward her, calling out to Cordelia, his darling. Using his powers, he mind controls Yui and leads her to a secret room. There we see dead. Cordelia's blood-stained dress is present in this room. He tells that there is no need to hesitate because the dress belongs to her. So Yui touches the dress, but instantly Cordelia's spirit takes over Yui's body. Immediately, all the vampire brothers sense that something is wrong. Their dead mother is somehow alive again. Sometimes later, Ayato approaches the two and asks about Cordelia being in Yui's body, but Cordelia leaves without answering the question. So Richter then reveals the truth. Before Cordelia died, she told him to remove her heart from her body and preserve it. When the right time comes, he should put his heart in a suitable body. He uses magical swords to take out Cordelia's heart so that one day he will bring her back to life. Richter further states that Cordelia has not yet fully controlled Yui's body, but that she will soon be able to fully control her. After that, Ayato goes to meet Cordelia at the dock, and then he pushes Cordelia into the water. Cordelia begins to drown in the water, despite being an excellent swimmer. By regaining control of her body, Yui seeks Ayato's help coming out of the water, so Ayato brings her out of the water. After that, he starts sucking her blood. Ayato enjoys the taste of her blood so much that he starts sucking Yui's blood like a lunatic. He leans down and demands that she devote her blood and life to him. Just as he's about to kiss her, Laito and Kanato arrive there by smelling the scent of Yui's blood. Seeing Yui, both brothers get excited just thinking about it and licks his lips hungrily. Terrified, Yui runs into the forest, and Ayato blocks their path so they won't follow her. She reaches the mansion and takes out a silver knife. Just then, Subaru appears and tells her to stop emitting such a tempting scent. He grabs her from behind and bites her shoulder hard and starts sucking her blood like a maniac. He pauses only to comment on how delicious her blood is and promises that she'll truly feel his fangs. Then, bites her again. weak from blood loss. Yui collapses onto the bed. Subaru gives the knife to Yui and leaves from there. Later, Richter appears and tells Yui that ever since her awakening began, her blood has become irresistibly tasty. It's so tempting that it could even cause a fight between the brothers, and someone can even die. Scared, Yui asks what she should do, so Richter tells her to clear her mind, accepts her fate, and sends her to the window where Cordelia is waiting for her there. By taking Cordelia's hand, Yui fully relinquishes control of her body. Richter approaches, declaring that the time for complete awakening has finally arrived. When Yui opens her eyes again, they are no longer hers, they're Cordelia's. Sharp, green, and cat-like eyes. They both go to the upper part of the living room, speaking with Richter, who is sitting nearby. Meanwhile, Reiji also appears on the lower part, surprised to see them. He recalled that his uncle had a visitor, but never expected it to be her. Seeing Reiji, Cordelia greets him casually, saying it's been a long time and says not to be so standoffish, come closer. Reiji becomes annoyed, listens as she taunts him, claiming that Beatrix didn't seem to love him as much as she loves Shuu, as he tries to say something but she silences his mouth with a sweet kiss. Afterwards, he tells her not to toy with him. In response, she teases that she's becoming interested in him, as a man he is. But Reiji is a Sigma male, he rejects her, stating he has no interest in corrupt women with loose morals. She gets angry and slaps him like every rejected high school girls. Then Laito steps in, urging everyone to stop fighting because they're family, after all. So one by one, all the brothers come there. Subaru tells them all to shut up and leave because none of them belongs here, and tells them to get lost. So Richter mocks Subaru, saying for someone who couldn't protect his own mother, he's putting on quite the show. Subaru gets mad and jumps on the railing near Richter and tries to punch him, but he grabs his hand and twists it. Then he tries to kick him, but he dodges, and Subaru jumps back down. Richter then challenges them all to a fight. Hearing this, Shuu laughs and gets off the couch and says that Karl-Heinz, their father, the head of the family, he doesn't even register him as worthy of being called a rival. But bored Cordelia interrupts them and says, is this the best entertainment they can provide? Calling them dull, she then hands a silver knife to Richter and orders him to kill all the brothers. A single blow to the heart from this knife would kill any one of them instantly. In return, she promises to give him anything he desires and tells him to hurry up and kill those boys. But Richter calls her a fool because she is useless to him. Now, she is in less than pristine condition. What he truly needs is her heart. He grabs her and tries to drink her blood to become head of the family. Just then, Ayato appears and stops him from drinking Yui's blood. Furious Richter attacks Ayato with a sword, so Laito throws a sword to Ayato and tells Richter his free ride is over and he'll make him regret coming here. Their swords clash, but Richter pushes Ayato back and stabs him in the left shoulder. Seeing Ayato bleeds, Yui takes back control of her body, so Richter again raises his sword to kill Ayato, but is shocked to see Yui conscious. Yui picks up a nearby knife and stabs herself in the chest. Enraged Richter screams that her heart belongs to him and swings his sword at them, but Ayato stabs him in the midsection and falls down on the ground. Ayato yells at Yui, telling her to open her eyes, but this time Cordelia returns, saying only a foolish girl would stab herself and calls it a joke. She continues by saying that her death and full awakening are only a matter of time, and both her body and soul will all be hers, and her eyes shut again. Subaru takes out the knife from Yui's chest. Kanato notices slowly her face begins to turn white. The scene then shifts to Richter, who's now in the underground waterway, bleeding from the wound Ayato gave him. He mutters that he cannot die yet and limps toward a spiral staircase. Meanwhile, Reiji starts looking for some solution in the books that shows genetic material to save Yui. She starts wailing in pain. Shu's reply is that the awakening is probably about to start. Kanato then asks if there is no precedent for an ordinary mortal woman to awaken with the powers of a vampire. Shuu agrees, saying that no vessel has ever endured the process. But Ayato says this time is different because Yui has Cordelia's heart. Elsewhere, Laito finds the injured Richter and asks what he hoped to achieve by trying to become the new head of the family. Richter gets angry and asks Laito he seriously believes that he tells the truth so easily and says the truth is not as simple as he thinks it is. Reiji finally creates a potion that could save Yui, but this medicine is not completely ready yet. He needs a part of Cordelia to complete the medicine. Without hesitation, Kanato tears apart his beloved teddy bear, revealing a hidden bottle of Cordelia's blood. When Cordelia's blood is added in, the medicine is completely ready. Then the scene again shifted to Richter, where Laito tells him never to mess with them again, but Richter cryptically says they all share an inescapable destiny. Laito didn't have any idea of what he is talking about, so, without wasting any time, he throws Lantern with a green flame on the floor that surrounds Richter and the Cordelia's old dress. Laito says goodbye and hopes he'll see Richter in hell and walks out of the room. On the other hand, Ayato makes Yui drink the medicine from his mouth. At first, nothing happens, but after a moment, Yui regains consciousness. She opens her eyes and says she feels incredibly thirsty for some reason. Her awakening is complete, and she may have become a vampire. After this, we see Yui standing at the balcony, looking over the rose garden, holding a single rose in her hand. Suddenly, Ayato approaches and gently returns her rosary, and she thanks him. In the final scene, we see that Reiji is putting a lock with chains around the door to the secret room and seal it for good. Some days later, we see Yui sleeping against a tree. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoed in her mind, calling her Eve. Yui slowly opens her eyes and quietly murmurs the name Eve. She explores her surroundings and notices the small flowers on the tree. She then touches one of them, which immediately starts blooming. While looking at the tree, she again hears someone call her as Eve. She quickly turned to see who it was, but no one was there. The dream ends, and she wakes up to find herself back in her bedroom and sees that 3 of the 6 Sakamaki brothers, Ayato, Laito, and Kanato, were in her room. Ayato immediately tries to drink Yui's blood, but Laito and Kanato stop him, insisting that they also wanted to taste Yui's blood. Yui gets scared, but the triplets lean in on Yui. Ayato on her neck, Laito at her shoulder, and Kanato at her wrist. Then the scene changes. We see all the Sakamaki brothers, and Yui is going to school. Reiji sigh how unsightly the triplets were to attack Yui. Ayato mutters how annoying it was that Reiji walked in just before he could drink Yui's blood. Kanato also agrees with Ayato, while Laito teases Reiji that instead of stopping them, he should have just joined in the fun. Subaru calls him a pervert, but despite this, Ayato once again tries to drink Yui's blood. Suddenly, the car goes out of control, jumps in the air, and explodes. Miraculously, all the people in the car survive by jumping out of the car. Yui is too terrified of what had just happened. As Ayato gently places her down, she thanks him. However, the brothers weren't convinced it was an accident. The timing felt deliberate, like someone's plan. Their suspicions were confirmed when their eyes fall on 4 strangers standing atop of the cliff. One of them calls Yui as Eve. After that, they disappear from there. The brothers immediately realize that those people are also vampires too, but they are not purebloods. Vampires like them. Ayato then comments how interesting this has become, and says that this is a declaration of war. On the other hand, Yui tries to recall where she heard that voice. The next night, Yui finds herself unable to sleep, so she goes to the rose garden, and suddenly, she hears the same voice. Again, this startles Yui, prompting her to look around, but there is no one, until a boy sneaks up from behind and he whispers something into her ear. This makes Yui jump back in surprise. She tries to run away from him, but on the way, she sees another boy standing in front of her. Just then, third one also appears, who blocks her path, having no idea what they are doing here. She panics and runs towards at the mansion, but on the way, she meets the 4th boy who addresses her as Eve. Hearing this, Yui finally realizes that it was his voice she kept hearing in her dream. She also figures out that they are same ones whom she saw on the cliff the other day. He reaches out and grabs her hand, pulling her towards him, and knocks her unconscious. When Yui opens her eyes, she finds herself in an unknown house. She sees the same man sitting in front of her. While reading a book, he comments on how she's quite slumbering and addresses her as livestock, which slightly offends her. Yui tries to ask him the reason for bringing her here, but she is cut off by another boy who appears out of nowhere, and he slams his hand against the window, telling her not to make such a big fuss. Then, a third boy also comes there, and finally the last boy appears there. While holding Yui's hand, he asks if she likes pain. All of this which makes Yui very nervous. After that, they introduce themselves one by one as Ruki, Yuma, Ku, Azusa, and tell her that now she will have to stay with them in their mansion. Yui didn't believe what was going on and tries to go back, but Ruki stops her and asks why she wants to go back to a place where she is used as livestock by those brothers. Yui replies that they also want to use her as livestock, so he calls Yui as Eve and says that they only need her blood. Yui tries to convince them that she is not Eve, but they do not listen to her at all. So Ruki suddenly grabs Yui's chin and forcefully turns her face towards him. He stares into her eyes and explains that since she has the blood of Eve, she will be able to find Adam. So they do not listen to Yui and forcefully lock her in the room. Back at the Sakamaki mansion, the brothers do not see Yui anywhere in the mansion. They are very upset for not being able to drink her blood, but think that she will come back on her own. After a while, Yui comes out of her room and tries to run away from the mansion, but troubled by the sound of the bell, she sits down. When she looks in front, Ruki is standing in front of her, who drags her into his room and throws her onto the ground. He explains to her that if she tries to run away, she will be punished. Yui gets scared and Ruki comments that the way she is looking at him right now seems as though she is asking for sympathy, but she denies this. Ruki says that gaining sympathy from vampires doesn't work. Suddenly, Yui's eyes fall on an old photo, which makes her a bit curious, but Ruki turns that photo face down and calls her Eve. He then starts walking towards and starts sucking her blood. Yui squints in pain as Ruki compliments her blood. He leans in to bite her again, but Yui yells at him to stop and pushes him away. She rushes towards the couch and clutches her neck while trying to catch her breath, only to be forcefully grabbed by Ruki, who bites her again from behind. While Ruki is sucking her blood, Yui's vision begins to dim and she closes her eyes. The next day, Yui again sees the same tree in her dreams and tries to touch it, but wakes up from her dream and finds herself back in her bedroom. At the Mukami mansion, she then comes out of the room and sees that all the four brothers are having dinner, and they also invite her to have dinner with them. Yui notices that the four brothers get along well compared to Sakamaki's. Then they start going to school, but forbid Yui to accompany them to school because the enemy vampires can see her. So they leave Azusa with her to keep an eye on Yui. Before leaving, Ko warns her that Azusa can be a bit of a handful, which makes her confused. Later, Yui returns to her room and sits by her dressing table, where she takes out her rosario. Suddenly, Azusa appears and tells Yui to come to his room, as he wants to show her something. Yui fearfully goes to his room. There, he shows Yui lots of silver knives, telling her that they are his treasures. He suddenly asks Yui if she likes him and if she can hit him, but she says that she can't do such a thing. So he then corners her against the wall and shows a knife. He wants to stab Yui with this knife. She begs Azusa not to do this, but Azusa gives her the knife and asks her to cut him. So Yui accidentally injured his hand, which brings back a childhood memory for Azusa, in which he is bullied by some kids, and this makes him overjoyed. But the children, disgusted by Azusa's looks, call him a freak. Azusa desperately shouts at them to not leave him. As they disappear from his sight, he wants them to continue beating him up because pain is his meaning of existence. Then the flashback ends, and Yui tries to go out of the room, but he stops her and starts sucking her blood. Azusa finds Yui's blood very sweet and delicious. Yui begs with Azusa to stop, but he does not stop and calls her Eve. Then he keeps sucking her blood with great pleasure until she faints from weakness. Yuma suddenly appears there. Seeing Yuma, he releases Yui and says, "Welcome home," with an innocent look. The next day, Yui is taking a bath. She strokes her shoulder in the area where Azusa bites her. She is thinking about Azusa's words, but is interrupted by Yuma, who enters the bathroom. Yui screams in surprise and embarrassment, which irritates Yuma. He says no one would get excited seeing her naked body. He then asks her to come with him, but Yui says, at least let her get dressed first. Some minutes later, he takes her to pluck tomatoes with him in the garden. Yui is quite surprised to see him growing tomatoes as a vampire, because she thinks vampires can't die from hunger. Yuma agrees with Yui and tells he likes to eat vegetables. He also reveals that he was actually a human before. This startles her, and he says that it's not only him, his brothers were also previously humans. Yuma tells Yui that his past as a human were not his greatest memories. He then feeds her a tomato, after which he brings her to a corner and starts drinking her blood. Yui tries to escape, but he catches her and starts sucking her blood forcefully. Yui soon loses the strength to resist, and she falls limp as her consciousness fades away. Then the scene changes to a flashback of a young Yuma with burn marks scorched all over his back. He wonders to himself if he'll die here, but a boy comes there and extends his hand to Yuma, telling him to come with them. Finally, Yui wakes up, and Yuma gives her a piece of sugar cube with mouth-to-mouth to eat. Later, Ruki gathers all the 4 brothers to talk about Yui's awakening. They want to awaken Yui at any cost for sake of that man. The next night, Yui is brushing her hair until Ku comes to meet Yui in her room. He gives her a bunch of flowers, and then he tries to suck Yui's blood in exchange for the flowers. But Yui pushes him away, which enrages him. He snatches the bouquet out of her hands. He breaks all the flowers and starts sucking Yui's blood by pinning her to the ground. Ku stops and comments on how her blood is so addicting. A smirk appears on his face as he licks the blood dripping from his lips. He tells her that he won't kill her until he becomes Adam, then resumes sucking her blood. After this, Yui faints and dreams about the tree. When she regains consciousness, there is no one in the room. Yui asks the other 3 brothers about Ku, so they tell that Ku is doing some work. After a while, Yui sees Ku coming in through the door. He asks her to walk to his room and asks Yui to help him to take off his wet clothes. Yui asks about the scars on his back. He tells that when he was young, he used to live in the gutter. He always dreamed of coming out of it, and one day he came out of the gutter, but some special people caught him and took him where there were other children like him. But he was a beautiful child, so he was given special treatment. They dressed him in nice clothes and sent to rich people's houses. Yui gets sad after hearing his sad story. Ku tells that a good thing happened, that he met his other 3 brothers there. Then, Ku invites Yui to sleep with him, but at night, he is haunted by dreams of his childhood. The next night, Ruki comes to Yui's room and gives her a school uniform and asks her to get ready for school. This surprises her, and she asks Ruki if it really is a good idea to go to school, but he just tells her to quickly get ready, then leaves. Yui gets ready and arrives at school with the 4 brothers who drop her off. On her way to the class, it is not long before she bumps into Reiji. She tries to explain to him what happened to her, but Reiji does not care or listen to her. Suddenly, Laito comes closer to her ears and accuses her of cheating. Kanato also shows up and asks why did she choose the Mukamis, who are not just vampires, but strangers as well. He says it makes him sick, to which she apologizes. So they inform her Ayato is looking for her, but today, he has not come to school. Just as Yui is about to ask how Ayato is, they have already disappeared. After this, Yui sees that Ku is surrounded by many fangirls. She is amazed by how popular Ku is, but her thoughts are interrupted when someone grabs her hand. It was Subaru, who drags her to the terrace with him. There, Subaru asks Yui whether she is living with the 4 brothers of her own free will, but Yui is unable to answer him. Just then, Ku also comes there. He then says that Subaru must like Yui, but Subaru angrily denies this. So Ku tells him that he isn't being honest. As his artificial eye glows red, he grabs Yui's hand and starts to take her away, but Subaru grabs Yui and pulls her towards him and starts sucking her blood. After sucking her blood, Subaru leaves from there. After that, Ku comes close to her to examine the bite marks, and he also starts sucking Yui's blood in the exact same spot where Subaru bite her earlier. On Yui's eyes fill with pain and sadness, he declares that he won't give her up to the Sakamakis. The next day, Yui helping Yuma in his garden, Yuma suddenly asks Yui about Shuu, and she instantly replies that Shuu is the eldest son of the Sakamaki family. Her answer shocks Yuma, and he asks her if she's joking with him, because he already knows that Shuu is the eldest son, and he calls her an airhead. What he meant was, what kind of person is Shuu? So Yui tells him that Shuu is always listening to songs and is always asleep anywhere. Yuma isn't that surprised and think he really is neat after that. He leaves from there. Unbeknownst to Yui, Ruki has been watching her through the window. Elsewhere, all the three brothers are talking about Yui's awakening despite all of them sucking Yui's blood. But they do not see any sign of awakening in Yui. Then a flashback appears of a young Ruki and his brother running away from some people. But they were caught by them. They punished them for running away. After this, we see a vampire extending a helping hand towards Ruki, which Ruki holds with great hope. Ruki then says that if everything continues like this, they will not be able to fulfill their promise to that vampire. Later, while climbing the stairs of the school, Yui starts to stumble and fall, but Yuma manages to catch her and lifts her into his arms. This startles her. She then asks where they're going, but he also doesn't know where they are going while walking. They spot Shuu is sleeping in front of them, blocking the way. Yuma kicks the wall to get him out of the way. This wakes up Shuu, but he refuses to get out of the way. This annoys Yuma to make Shuu angry. Yuma suddenly starts sucking Yui blood in front of him. She quietly whimpers that it hurts. But instead of fighting, Shuu stands up and leaves. He then remembers an incident from his childhood when he got lost in the forest and found a boy who looked like Yuma, who gave him an apple to eat. Shuu realizes that Yuma is that boy who helped him. Unbeknownst to Shuu, Reiji has been watching him from afar. Meanwhile, Yui returns to the mansion. She finds Ruki standing in front of her. He suddenly grabs her and about to suck her blood, but stops after thinking something, then releases her and walks away and wonders if he will ever be able to become Adam. The next day, Azusa tells his brothers that Ruki is refusing to come for dinner. They think that Ruki is upset about something. Then the scene changes Yui's room, where she has finished donning on her school uniform just as she is about to leave. Ruki suddenly appears and forcefully grabs her hand. He orders Yui to come with him. Yui desperately asks Ruki where he is taking her, but he only tells her to be quiet as he jerks her into a small room. She protests, but Ruki silences her by biting her neck roughly. He thrusts his fangs deeper into her neck while sucking her blood, causing Yui to collapse in an instant. Seeing this, Ruki gasps in shock. He rushes out of the room. Outside, Ruki is confronted by his brothers, who ask him why he is doing this. So Ruki says that they will keep Yui locked in that room and suck her blood like she is a livestock, since more of her blood will be needed for the sake of Adam. After a week has passed, all three brothers ask Ruki to free Yui from that room. But Ruki reminds them the promise they made to that vampire, in which one of them has to become Adam. The three brothers didn't understand his behavior. Elsewhere, Ruki looks out of the window and is shocked to see an unexpected visitor who turns out to be none other than Ayato, who's glaring at him from outside. In the living room, the other Mukamis also become shocked when they sense Ayato's presence. Meanwhile, Yui is in the room, where she is still thinking about Ruki, but her thoughts are interrupted when Ayato comes to Yui's room to pick her up, and he takes her away. The three brothers ask Ruki the reason for not stopping Ayato, but Ruki is unable to answer them. After that, we see Ayato brings Yui to a forest and orders her to let him suck her blood. Yui tries to speak, but he cuts her off, saying that he's reached his limit. He pulls back her hair and is about to bite her until he sees bite marks on her neck, but still starts sucking her blood. Yui again sees the same dream, but this time, all the leaves have fallen from the tree. When she opens her eyes, Laito is present in front of her. Laito comes close to Yui and bites her leg. He starts sucking her blood. He enjoys seeing the pain on Yui's face. Laito starts sucking her blood again, but Reiji comes and stops him. Reiji orders Yui to meet him outside. There, Reiji asks Yui about the four vampire brothers, so Yui tells him that they were calling her Eve for reason. Reiji understands everything on hearing Yui's story. He asks Yui for more information. So Yui reminisces that the brothers wanted her blood for someone else. Hearing this, Reiji asked Shuu about his father's intentions, but Shuu has no idea about it. Suddenly, Kanato comes there and vents his anger on Yui, and Subaru also comes there. He also vents his anger on Yui by punching the wall, but Laito stopped them, and when all the brothers arrive, Reiji warns them that on the coming full moon night is a special lunar eclipse in both humans' world and the demon world. The vampires will lose significant amount of power. Ayato feels there's nothing to be concerned, but Shuu warns them not to take the situation lightly. There is a possibility of something bad happening to them. After that, Yui goes to meet Reiji in his room. Yui asks Reiji about the intentions of those Mukami's brothers, but Reiji doesn't think it necessary to tell her anything. And Reiji drops Yui on the table and starts sucking blood from her hands and comments, "All the faults is your blood sent elsewhere." We see a pack of wolves is ready to attack at night. Yui in the garden of white and red roses, having her blood sucked by Shuu. He comments on how it seems as though she doesn't care whoever sucks her blood, but she protests that it hurts. But Shuu says that she should be more honest. He tries to encourage her to tell him that she wants him to suck her blood, and he will only stop until he is satisfied with the amount of blood he sucks from her. He then grabs her hand and bites her finger, telling her she's quite conceited and she's quality food. He doesn't want to give her up while drinking her blood. He commenting on how it is bothersome to get something back once it's lost. Shuu tells Yui to stay with him and to let him suck her blood. Meanwhile, at the Mukami mansion, all the three brothers are upset with Yui's departure, and they do not understand why Rookie allowed Ayato to take Yui away. Suddenly, some angry wolves come inside through the window and surround the brothers from all sides. Then the scene changes. Yui has the same dream again. She tries to touch the tree, but the tree vanishes in front of her. Then Kanato appears to her and calls her a traitor. He reminds her that toys are always belongs to his owner and bites her neck, claiming that he's the best when it comes to blood sucking. He again starts sucking Yui's blood. Just then, Azusa comes there in a bad condition to seek help from Yui, but Kanato grabs Yui's hand and stops her from going to Azusa. Kanato accuses her of betraying him and yells that he will kill both of them and starts forcefully choking her. Seeing Yui being choked by Kanato, Azusa grabs Kanato's teddy and throws his teddy bear in the fire. Seeing this, Kanato screeches at Azusa. As Teddy is engulfed in the flames, he falls down onto his knees and starts crying as he watching his precious teddy burning away. Then Azusa takes Yui's hand and takes her from there. Yui sees Rookie lying injured on the bed. Azusa tells Yui that some wolves had surrounded them and were attacking them, but Rookie came in between to save Azusa from the wolf, so he got injured. The reason for the wolf attack on those brothers is not yet known. Azusa then tells Yui that Rookie was very upset these days because of the apple of Adam. One of them would have awakened as Adam for this. They needed Yui's blood. But when the awakening did not happen, despite sucking Yui's blood, Rookie was very upset when Rookie regains consciousness. Yui asks him why he wants to be Adam. Rookie doesn't want to talk about it because none of them could become Adam. He tells her they need to complete this plan for that man at any cost. But Rookie had realized after drinking Yui's blood for a long time that non-pure blood vampires can never become Adam, and he wanted to hide this from his brothers. Yui makes him understand that he doesn't need to hide anything from his brothers as they care for him too. Then Rookie comes close to Yui and starts sucking her blood. Elsewhere, wolves calling themselves the Founders reveal that during the lunar eclipse, their powers will be greatly enhanced and the vampires will be powerless. They want to take revenge on the vampires, but before that, they want to get Yui's blood on the day of the lunar eclipse. The wolves attack at Sakami's mansion, but the lunar eclipse has not yet taken place, so they manage to make those wolves run away. Reiji thinks that the wolves were sent by the Founders. Laito, believes the wolves didn't come here to attack them, and they're after Yui. So, to protect Yui, Ayato starts going outside to find Yui, despite Shuu's warning, and he ends up in Ruki's room looking for Yui. Ayato tells Ruki that the founders are sending wolves to attack them, and they are looking for Yui for her blood. Yui does not wanting to cause any more trouble, so she decides to separate herself from the others. But Ayato and Ruki refuse to leave her alone. The vampires become very weak during the lunar eclipse, so Ruki asks Ayato to fight together to save Yui. Ayato reluctantly agrees, but does not want to share Yui with them, and starts sucking Yui's blood in front of Ruki. He also joins him, and both start sucking her blood. Later, Ruki tells Yui that for him to become Adam, Yui needs to feel free. In the end, all brothers are ready to become Adam. Following the lunar eclipse, the founder brothers prepare to attack the vampire brothers. But that's the end of today's video. If you want the continuation, leave it in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel with the bell activated so you don't miss the next anime stories. Leave a like. It will help the channel a lot. I really appreciate it, guys. That's it. We'll see you on my next video. Bye.